Let's talk about connectivity, about where you actually put these now in a modern air chain, about how they're connected, whether you're doing analog ins and outs, whether you're doing AES, EBU, what do you have now for connectivity options, and how do you recommend setting these up as part of a larger air chain?
All Wheatstone processors have obviously traditional analog and AES and also WheatNet IP input and out. They also have outputs that can be AES left-right, composite, or baseband 192, which is our AES composite interface with compatible exciters. It's always best, in my opinion and in what I've seen, is to place the processing as close to the transmitter as possible. But now we realize not every situation allows for that, based on just the way things are structured. In some European countries, you don't have access to the transmitter site. That's a government-controlled thing. In the United States, we have a lot more latitude, obviously, for that. So placing the processor rather at the transmitter is always the best, with the shortest possible composite run. There are still people who believe in the AES left-right interface with the transmitter and the exciter. That's fine. If you have an exciter that does a good job with the stereo generator, you're probably okay. A lot of the older exciters, the stereo generator was not as good as what you're going to find in an audio processor, especially one of today's class, like the X3 or the X1. So what we've done for customers who want to keep an all-digital path and have the benefit of having the stereo generator built into the processor. If they have a modern exciter that's compatible, we do have the AES composite interface we call baseband 192, which takes shows up on the AES output port of the processor and interfaces with the exciter and transmits a composite signal over an AES connection.
As I know very well from some of my work, there are a lot of broadcasters now getting into doing translators, especially AM stations, putting FMs on that may never have done that before. And that's one of the places where units like the FM25 and the FM55 make a nice price point to work for them. Talk a little bit, if you would, about some of the considerations of working on a budget to try to get decent sound out of a translator signal.
Well, what we did was, especially with the FM25, and I'm going to stay on that for a second, is the decision to put the IAGC Dynamics controller in the front of it. Usually when you have situations where you have an FM translator and for an AM station, it's probably in areas that may be rural. It may be in an area where engineering might be a hard thing to find an engineer who's good with audio processing like that. So we designed the FM25 to have a simple control interface, to have the intelligence so that kind of like no matter what you threw at it, it was going to handle it. So basically it's one of those, you can just throw it in there, throw it right into the fire, and it'll just perform without having to do a lot of tweaking, without having to have a master's degree in how to set these things. So that's what the target for the FM25 was. The 55 is more for a little bit more for the tweakers. We had a few more bands of processing. We had a few more controls that are fleshed out that are not available in the FM25. But if you're looking for an FM translator that will sound very good, very competitive, and very competent, the FM25 can do that for you practically right out of the box with limited to no knowledge of really what's going on. It's as close to plug and play as you're going to find in a competent audio processor.